I mean, it was unbelievable. I couldn't even make it to the bathroom.
Ann M. is describing a health crisis she was thrust into after undergoing a common surgery.
Hey, sweet girl. I was admitted to the hospital for 3 days, put in isolation.
Antibiotics she was given to prevent infection during her surgery had backfired in the worst way.
I had been very healthy. You know, I don't get sick very often. So when this happened, I was just couldn't believe it.
When we're healthy, helpful bacteria naturally live in our gut, much like a variety of vegetables might grow in a garden. When a weed or pathogen takes root in our garden, or you receive antibiotics for another infection, the antibiotics act like a weed killer. But sometimes they can kill off the good vegetables too and make way for an even hardier weed to flourish.
And so our garden's disrupted or decimated by antibiotics, and C. difficile grows up like a weed.
C. diff, or Clostridium difficile, is one such bacteria that can move into our garden when competition for real estate is low. Standard antibiotics won't kill this weed. You have to use the heavy-duty stuff.
Right now we have 3 primary antibiotics that we use to treat C. diff. We have metronidazole, we have vancomycin, and we have fidaxomicin.
When you receive antibiotics to treat your C. difficile infection, about 80% do well on things such as oral vancomycin. And about 20% of those individuals will go on to have recurrent disease.
Colleen Kraft, an infectious diseases doctor, and Tanvi Deer, a GI physician, have teamed up to study and treat patients using an unconventional procedure that involves transplanting healthy donor feces into a sick patient's colon to fertilize their microbiome or gut flora. The process is derived from traditional Chinese medicine. Today, the procedure is called Fecal Microbiota Transplant, FMT, or simply fecal transplant.
So if after 3 to 5 days they haven't responded to a good course of antibiotics for that C. difficile, then we'll consider them for fecal transplant at that time.
Ann heard about the Emory FMT C. diff study from a friend.
And I'll never forget the morning. I was lying on the couch crying, thinking I'm never going to get well. My husband was so frustrated, and I told him about this information. At 7:20 in the morning, he emailed Dr. Kraft, and by 7:33 we had a response, and she said, call me as soon as you can, you know, I could help you.
The fecal transplant is the replanting of those seeds back in the garden.
We've done over 250 fecal transplants for patients who have recurrent or refractory C. diff and have had over a 95% success rate.
They will get this fecal transplant, which will help them stay off the medications and feel a lot better.
Dr. Kraft preps the next batch of FMT solution to be delivered to Emory's GI suite, where it can be administered via enema or during a colonoscopy.
Google is an amazing thing. So I read a ton about it, and I didn't read in one negative thing.
Ann had researched the process before her FMT and so wasn't put off by the yuck factor.
You're in agony, you'll do anything.
The fecal transplant, it does sound gross, I'll give you that. But what we're doing is screening very healthy donors who have no medical problems, are not on any medications. And the preparation is like anything that you'd see in a clinical laboratory.
Now Doctors Kraft and Deer, along with infectious diseases doctors Anish Mehta and Rachel Friedman Morocco, have embarked on a new study that will test FMTs on some patients who receive kidney transplants here at Emory's Transplant Center. Transplant patients are at a higher risk of developing multi-drug resistant infections.
Because not only are their bodies immunosuppressed from that organ transplant, the medications they have to take from the organ transplant, they also receive a lot of antibiotics to prevent infections.
So far, organ transplant patients with C. diff have had their symptoms resolved using fecal transplants with few adverse side effects. The hope is that FMTs will work at least as well on other multi-drug resistant superbugs.
The staff at Emory, I think that they're the most caring and well educated on this situation. I felt when I went there that I really found my answer, and I just can't even thank them enough for giving me my life back.